Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into one of the most stunning and unique houseplants you can own, the Monarch Fern. You might have also heard it called the wart fern, and it's known for those incredible, glossy, deeply cut leaves. If you've ever admired one but thought, that looks tricky, then you are in the right place. This is your complete guide to making this fern not just survive, but truly thrive in your home.
So, here's our game plan to make you a Monarch Fern Pro. First, we'll get properly introduced. Then, we'll set up its perfect home and get into a simple weekly routine. After that, we'll level up with some advanced care, troubleshoot common issues, and wrap up with some fun pro tips and display ideas. Let's jump right in.
All right, so what is this plant exactly? Well, its fancy name is Phymatoris scolopendria, and it's a tropical fern that comes from the Western Pacific. The first thing you'll notice are those big, shiny fronds that can get up to 3 feet long. But the really unique thing, and where it gets the nickname wart fern, are these little bumps on the leaves. Now don't freak out. These aren't a disease, they're called sori, and they're how the fern reproduces. And trust me, knowing this now will save you from a lot of panic later on.
Okay, this next part is maybe the most important. We're going to build the perfect home for your fern. You know, getting the light, the soil, and the humidity right from the get-go is the absolute secret to long-term success. It really just boils down to 4 key things.
First up, light. This fern loves, and I mean loves, bright but indirect sunlight. Just picture it on a forest floor with dappled light coming through the trees overhead. That's what we're trying to copy. A spot near a north-facing window is pretty much perfect, or you can just set it back a bit from a sunnier window. But whatever you do, keep it out of direct sun. That's the enemy here. It will scorch those gorgeous leaves in no time.
Next, let's get our hands dirty and talk soil. You can't just grab any old bag of potting mix for this one. A monarch fern needs a soil that does 2 opposite things at once. It has to hold on to moisture, but also drain really well. That's why a special fern mix with lots of organic stuff like peat moss or coco coir is ideal. It keeps the roots damp but not drowning in a swamp, which would cause them to rot. And here is a big one, humidity. This plant is from the tropics, so it absolutely craves moisture in the air. We're talking about a sweet spot of 60 to 80%. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sounds like a jungle, not my living room. But don't worry, I've got some super simple tricks I'll share in just a bit to help you nail that perfect humid environment.
Okay, go ahead and screenshot this right here. This is your cheat sheet, your recipe for a happy fern. The indirect light is its food, the right temperature keeps it from getting stressed, that slightly acidic soil helps it eat, and the high humidity makes it feel right at home. If you can get these 4 things right, you've basically built the perfect little fern paradise.
So once you've set up that perfect little home, it's all about keeping things consistent. And the good news is the weekly care is actually super easy once you get into a nice, steady rhythm with your plant. Watering. This is where a lot of people trip up, but it's simple once you know the secret. First, always check the soil with your finger. Just stick it in about an inch or 2 deep. If it feels dry, it's time to water. When you do, give it a really good soak with room temperature water. And try to aim for the soil around the plant, not right in the middle of the crown. The most important step, make sure all the extra water drains right out the bottom. The goal is always moist soil, never soggy.
Now, when it comes to feeding, you might be surprised to hear this, but monarch ferns are pretty light eaters, so you don't have to go crazy with the fertilizer. Just find a balanced liquid one like a 10-10-10, and this is the most important part, dilute it to half strength. Feed it about every 2 to 4 weeks in the spring and summer when it's actively growing, and then just stop in the winter. Trust me, with ferns, less is more. Too much fertilizer can burn the roots.
Okay, you've totally got the basics down, so let's talk about leveling up your care game. As your fern gets bigger and more mature, a little bit of upkeep will keep it looking amazing, and it can even help you make more ferns to share with your friends.
You know, pruning this fern isn't about giving it a haircut or shaping it. It's really all about health. Whenever you spot a frond that's looking yellow, brown, or just a bit sad, grab some clean scissors and snip it off right at the base. Doing this basically tells the plant, hey, stop wasting energy on that dying leaf and put it towards making beautiful new ones.
Try not to think of repotting as a chore. Think of it as hitting the reset button for your fern. About once a year, or whenever it just looks way too big for its pot, it's time for a new home. Just go up 1 pot size, use that fresh fern mix, and you're golden. It gives the roots room to stretch out and a whole new batch of nutrients to munch on. And this is where the real magic is. You want more monarch ferns for free? The absolute easiest way is by dividing the plant. When you're repotting it in the spring, you can just gently pull the whole root ball apart into a few smaller sections. As long as each new piece has some leaves and some roots, you can pot it up on its own. It's an amazing way to fill your house with more ferns or be the best plant friend ever.
Look, even if you do everything right, sometimes plants just have a bad day. But don't panic. Little problems are totally normal and almost always easy to fix. Think of this section as your personal fern emergency room. We'll figure out what's wrong and how to fix it.
Okay, everybody lean in, because if you only remember one single thing from this entire explainer, please let it be this. The number one absolute biggest mistake people make is burying the rhizomes. You see those fuzzy, green, creepy-crawly stems that the leaves grow out of? Those have to sit on top of the soil. If you bury them, they will rot, plain and simple. Almost every major problem with this fern starts right here.
So this is the big one, right? The question I get all the time. You bring home this gorgeous, perfect fern, and a few weeks later, yellow leaves, brown, crispy tips. What in the world is going on? Let's break down the usual suspects.
All right, let's play plant detective. If you're seeing yellow fronds, your first thought should be rot. Check if those rhizomes are buried or if the soil is too wet. Seeing brown, crispy edges, that's a sign of dryness. Either the air is too dry or the soil is. If the leaves are looking kind of pale and washed out, it's probably getting too much sun. And if you see brown spots, well, that could be one of two very different things.
This is a huge point of confusion, so let's clear it up. Remember those warts from the beginning? The sorry? Those are the good guys. They look like neat little rows of round brownish dots on the underside of the leaves. That's a healthy, happy, mature fern. A bad fungal spot, on the other hand, will look messy, random, maybe with a yellow ring around it. Knowing the difference will save you so much stress. You made it! You are now officially armed with all the knowledge you need to keep your monarch fern healthy. So now we get to the really fun part, taking your plant from just surviving to absolutely thriving and turning it into a showstopper in your home. Ready to really level up? Here are a few pro tips. That whole humidity thing? Easiest trick is to just cluster your fern with other plants. They create their own little humid microclimate. A pebble tray or a small humidifier also works wonders. Also, make sure it gets some decent air circulation to keep any fungus away. And if the leaves get dusty, just gently wipe them with a damp cloth. And one last time, consistently moist, never ever soggy.
The classic can't-go-wrong way to display a monarch fern is in a hanging basket. There's a reason it's so popular. It just lets those long, elegant fronds do their thing, arching out and cascading down. It creates this beautiful, lush waterfall effect that really brings a little piece of the tropics right into your room.
But hey, don't be afraid to think outside the pot. Because these ferns naturally grow on other things in the wild, you can actually mount them on a piece of wood, just like a staghorn fern, and create this amazing piece of living wall art. Or, if you really want to embrace the humidity, make it the star of its own terrarium. The possibilities are seriously endless.
And that's a wrap. You now have everything you need to be an amazing monarch fern parent. You know what it likes, what it hates, and how to help it flourish. So I guess the only question left is, now that you're a pro with this beauty, what exciting new plant challenge are you going to take on next?